Hey there, Internet. So, I got a bunch of wires in my hand. I bet you're wondering what they are. So, maybe you're not. I've been messing around with probing, and what I really don't need for this machine is more wires. So, one of the things I actually do want to test is wireless probing. But this little guy right here, this is let me see if I can read it. It is a 530. I don't know. I'll have to put it in the thing. My eyes aren't so great. Anyway, it's a laser time of flight sensor. So it shoots a bitsy little laser beam out, and then it times how long the pulse takes to come back off of a reflected surface. I set this up. I don't have any footage of it. I did a bunch of probe testing. I have the results. I'll put them up on the screen. This would work. I think it would work for just getting a rough estimate of where the tool is. So, for instance, if you're going from a very long tool to a very short tool, you don't want to set your probing distance to be 80 millimeters, because if the probe doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you're going to crash your machine and destroy things. So what you could do is you could move it over to this guy and get it within about a half a millimeter, and then move it over to something more accurate. So I'll put the numbers up for this so you can see what the range of accuracy is. This guy is it's essentially a circuit board with 3 buttons on it, and then I made these little cups, and I put 6 millimeter ball bearings inside of there. And then there's V grooves in there. So what this creates is a kinetic kinetic mounting point. And ideally, if everything's done correctly, you can move this around, and it should theoretically go back to where it was. And there's only one position where it can really be at rest. And so there's a spring in the bottom, and that pushes it back up. The buttons have a lot of wobble to them, and so it doesn't actually move back to the original place 100%, but they're buttons, and it's a little easier to make all of the parts, because soldering wires to the buttons is kind of difficult, and you have to it's a bit more complicated to do the full kinematic setup, although it's not that hard. So I'll do a quick demo of what this looks like. I'll probe the front here. Actually, let me probe the center first. Now, this is a piece of steel that's got an 8 millimeter relief in it, and then there's a shoulder in the bottom with a 4 millimeter bolt that holds the PCB on. I haven't made a platter for this yet, so I'm just using this piece of steel and probing it right in the middle. So I just want to give you an idea how much motion it takes to actuate. So let me zoom in, and here we go. So that's it. Now if I remove this and probe out on the edge, gotta jog down a bit. So if I probe it on the edge, you'll see that this is going to move a decent amount more. One more time. And you can see it actually moved this way a little bit. So the force on these isn't the same in all axes. So if I move it over here, you'll see it will behave a little bit differently. One more time. So just a tiny bit of movement. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and throw up on the screen the results. I probed it in the left, the right, the front, the back, and the center, and it's plus or minus 1/100th of a millimeter, I think, in the middle. I didn't look at all the numbers, but that's roughly what it looked like. There's some work to be done to this. I need to lap down the surface a little bit more. Flat on the bottom. It's pretty flat. I checked it with a micron indicator. Obviously these bolts are too high, and then it needs a little platter that sits up here. one of the things I was thinking that would be nice if this worked out right was the platter. You could actually push on the edge of it and it would actuate as well as on the Z. It might be good enough just to use for Z. It might be good enough to get a rough, within a plus or minus, let's say, 0.05 millimeters to do edges. So what I've put some, I've reamed some holes in here so I could register it on the corner and then figure out what the offset is. And once I know the offset, I can probe X and Y, or I could just probe the center of a circle, or even I could have a probe the inside of a circle. I can do any of those things, and then that would actually give me my X, Y coordinates as well as my Z coordinates. So I'll go ahead and post up the results. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and thanks for watching.